For 15 long years, Sophia Bennett gave everything to her company. Her time, her loyalty, her very soul. She sacrificed holidays, family moments, even her own happiness, believing her hard work and honesty would always protect her. But one morning, in a cold boardroom filled with smug faces and silent whispers, all of it was ripped away. Fired without warning, humiliated in front of colleagues, her reputation smeared with lies. They thought they had buried her for good. But what they didn't know was that Sophia carried with her the very proof of their darkest secrets. And when she returned, she didn't just fight back. She unleashed a storm so devastating, it shook the company's empire to its core. This is not just a story of betrayal. It is a story of ruthless revenge. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments. Sophia Bennett wasn't extraordinary by birth, but she became extraordinary by choice. Born in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, she learned early what it meant to struggle. Her father was a mechanic, her mother a school teacher. Money was always tight, but values were never scarce. Her parents told her two things repeatedly: work hard and never break your word. Sophia carried those lessons into adulthood like sacred rules. After graduating from Northwestern University with a degree in business administration, she landed her first job at a small but ambitious firm called Nexus Dynamics. Back then, Nexus was just a modest tech consultancy. No one knew if it would survive 5 years, let alone become a multi-million-dollar corporation. But Sophia believed in it. She was 22 when she joined, fresh-faced, eager, and determined. She stayed late when others went home. She volunteered for projects no one else wanted. She built systems from scratch, streamlined operations, and saved the company millions with her meticulous audits. By the time she turned 35, she wasn't just another employee, she was the backbone of Nexus Dynamics. Colleagues called her the fixer. Board members relied on her clarity. Even the CEO, Richard Halloway, once said at a company banquet, "If I had to bet the company on one person, it would be Sophia Bennett." Those words stuck with her. They weren't just praise. They were validation. For 15 years, Sophia lived and breathed Nexus Dynamics. She skipped family vacations, canceled dates, and missed weddings. While her friends were building families and memories, Sophia was building spreadsheets and strategies. She thought loyalty would protect her. She thought hard work would guarantee respect. She thought she was safe, but she was wrong. It began 2 years before her downfall, when the board hired Victor Lang as chairman. Victor was everything Sophia distrusted in a leader: polished, charming, ruthless. He was known in corporate circles as the Shark. His philosophy was simple: people were replaceable, but profits were not. Sophia sensed it immediately. The company culture shifted. Long-term stability was sacrificed for short-term wins. Employee well-being was ignored in favor of inflated quarterly numbers. But the real threat came in the form of a woman named Amanda Cole. Amanda joined Nexus as a mid-level strategist. But within months, she was climbing faster than anyone had ever seen. She had Victor's ear. She had the board's attention. She also had a dangerous skill: manipulation. While Sophia built her career on honesty and results, Amanda built hers on charm, deceit, and calculated flattery. She was the type who stole credit with a smile and whispered poison into the right ears. At first, Sophia dismissed her. Amanda was ambitious, yes, but inexperienced. Surely results would speak louder than gossip. But as time passed, Sophia noticed disturbing patterns. Reports she wrote were being presented as Amanda's. Initiatives she pioneered were credited to Amanda. When mistakes happened, somehow Sophia's name was attached. The walls were closing in. But Sophia didn't realize it until it was too late. It was a Thursday morning when Sophia received the email, "Mandatory board meeting, attendance required." Her stomach tightened. Mandatory board meetings weren't common for directors unless something serious was happening. She entered the boardroom with her usual professionalism, a navy blue suit and calm demeanor. But the moment she stepped inside, she knew the air was heavy. The board sat stiffly, eyes avoiding hers. Victor Lang leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled, a small smirk playing on his lips. Beside him sat Amanda, perfectly poised, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Sophia Bennett," Victor began smoothly. "After reviewing recent performance reports, the board has concluded that your leadership no longer aligns with the company's vision." Sophia blinked. "No longer aligns? With all due respect, I've led every major operational success for over a decade. If this is about the merger numbers, I can explain." Victor cut her off, his voice cold. "This is not a debate. Effective immediately, your position is terminated." The words hit like a gunshot. Amanda's lips curved into a barely hidden smirk. Sophia's throat tightened. "Terminated? After 15 years? You're making a mistake. My record—" Again, Victor silenced her with a wave of his hand. "Security will escort you out. You are no longer authorized to access company property." 2 guards entered the room. Sophia's hands trembled as they guided her out. Her colleagues whispered as she passed. Some looked shocked, others avoided her gaze. Not one spoke in her defense. The humiliation was complete. They didn't let her pack her things. Her office was sealed. Even her personal laptop and phone were confiscated under investigation. When she reached the front lobby, the receptionist, who had once greeted her every morning with warmth, avoided her eyes. The guards pushed open the glass doors, and Sophia stepped into the chilly Chicago air. It was over. 15 years. Gone in a single morning. The days that followed were torture, her inbox filled with rejection emails. Recruiters who once begged her to join their companies suddenly ghosted her. Word was spreading, rumors of fraud, of mismanagement, of sabotage. She knew exactly where those rumors came from. Amanda. Bills piled up. Her severance package was delayed pending investigation. Her savings dwindled. At night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying the betrayal over and over. The laughter in Amanda's eyes, the coldness in Victor's voice. She had sacrificed everything for Nexus, and they had buried her alive. One evening, Sophia sat at her small kitchen table, nursing a glass of wine. Rain lashed against the window, thunder rolling in the distance. Her hands shook as she scrolled through old files on an external hard drive she had kept for years. It was her habit to back up everything: emails, financial records, project reports. As she clicked through folders, something caught her eye. A series of payments. Transfers to unfamiliar accounts, shell companies with generic names like Cole Enterprises LLC and Lang Consulting. Her pulse quickened. She dug deeper. The trail was clear. Nexus Dynamics was bleeding money through fraudulent contracts and fake vendors. And at the center of it, Amanda Cole. Her heart pounded. This wasn't incompetence. This was theft. Amanda hadn't just wanted her gone out of spite. She needed Sophia out of the way to cover her tracks. Sophia leaned back in her chair, a dark smile spreading across her face. They thought they had destroyed her. But Sophia was about to bring down an empire. Revenge couldn't be rushed. It had to be precise, surgical. For weeks, Sophia lived like a ghost. She barely left her apartment. Her blinds stayed closed. She ordered groceries online, ignored calls, and disappeared from social media. But behind the silence, she worked. She cross-referenced transactions. She mapped timelines. She traced offshore accounts. Piece by piece, she built a case so airtight it could bury them all. She didn't just want Amanda and Victor fired. She wanted them ruined. She wanted their names dragged through headlines, their reputations shredded, their empire in flames. She began with whispers. Anonymous tips to investigative journalists, carefully leaked documents to regulators. But those were only seeds. The real strike would come at the annual shareholder meeting, the most important day of the year for Nexus Dynamics. And this year, it was even more significant. The CEO, Richard Halloway, was returning from medical leave. Richard had been the one person Sophia truly trusted. If anyone could expose the truth, it was him. The night before the meeting, Sophia sat in the dark with only the glow of her laptop screen. She hacked into the company's internal system using old backdoors she herself had designed years ago. Her hands trembled as she uploaded the file. A devastating presentation of fraudulent transactions, incriminating evidence, and Amanda's name plastered across every page. Tomorrow, the world would know. The meeting began with pomp and grandeur. The board presented glossy reports, smiling faces, projections of endless growth. Victor spoke smoothly about vision and innovation. Amanda dazzled the room with her rehearsed charm. And then, without warning, the screen flickered, the graphs disappeared. The polished slides were replaced by spreadsheets, contracts, and bank transfers. Amanda's name appeared again and again. Wire transfers, fake vendors, millions siphoned into her accounts. The room erupted in gasps. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Shareholders leaned forward, eyes wide in disbelief. Richard Holloway, sitting at the head of the table, went pale. Then his face flushed red with rage. He slammed his hand against the table, his voice shaking the walls. "Where is she?" he thundered, eyes locked on Amanda. Amanda froze, her confident smile shattering, and miles away, watching the chaos unfold on her secure live stream, Sophia whispered one word to herself: checkmate. The shareholder meeting erupted into pandemonium. Board members whispered furiously. Journalists scribbled notes, and investors shouted over each other in confusion. The once carefully choreographed event had descended into a public scandal. Amanda Cole's face drained of color. She tried to gather herself, flipping through her notes as if the evidence splashed across the screen could be explained away. This is obviously fabricated," she stammered, her voice shaking. "Someone hacked into the system. This isn't real." But the numbers didn't lie. The files were time-stamped, authenticated, irrefutable, and every damning piece of evidence pointed to her. Victor Lang leaned toward her, whispering harshly, his jaw clenched. But even he looked rattled. At the head of the table, CEO Richard Holloway slowly rose to his feet. His eyes, normally calm and steady, burned with fury. "Enough," he said, his voice echoing across the room. He turned toward Amanda, his tone sharp as a blade. "Amanda Cole, you stand accused of embezzlement, fraud, and betrayal of this company." He pounded his fist on the table. "Where is she?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew who she was. Sophia. Amanda's desperation, Amanda swallowed hard, trying to muster her usual composure. She straightened her blazer, forced a laugh, and spoke louder than necessary. "Mr. Holloway, this is absurd. Sophia Bennett is a disgruntled ex-employee. Clearly, she orchestrated this to frame me. She's bitter. She's unstable." Her words rang hollow. Investors muttered among themselves. Reporters whispered. Victor Lang quickly interjected, his voice smoother, more controlled. "We should not jump to conclusions. This could very well be a coordinated attack on the company. I recommend we adjourn and investigate privately." But the shareholders weren't having it. Shouts of, "We demand answers," and "Our money is at stake," filled the air. The pressure was mounting. Amanda's hands trembled as she reached for her water glass, trying to hide her panic. She had spent years carefully crafting her rise, manipulating her way into power. And now, in a matter of minutes, it was unraveling. Sophia's remote strike miles away in her modest apartment. Sophia watched it all unfold on her laptop screen. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with exhilaration. For weeks, she had lived in the shadows, piecing together the puzzle. And now, the fruits of her labor were finally visible. But this was only the beginning. She opened another folder on her computer. Inside were emails, dozens of them. Correspondence between Amanda and Victor, detailing how they funneled funds into offshore accounts, bribed regulators, and covered up losses with falsified reports. With one click, Sophia sent the documents to every major news outlet in Chicago. Her phone buzzed with confirmation after confirmation. Received. Thank you for this tip. Breaking immediately. By the time Amanda and Victor tried to regain control, the headlines were already spreading. The media storm within hours. The story exploded across television, radio, and social media. Fraud scandal at Nexus Dynamics. Executive Amanda Cole implicated in $30 million embezzlement. Anonymous whistleblower exposes corporate corruption. Reporters camped outside Nexus headquarters. Investors pulled their funds. Employees whispered in hallways, afraid of who might be next. Amanda and Victor were summoned to emergency meetings. Their once iron grip on the company was slipping like sand through their fingers. Richard's Hunt CEO Richard Holloway wasn't a man easily fooled. For 15 years, he had trusted Sophia more than anyone. Seeing her name dragged through the mud had always felt wrong. Now, with the evidence staring him in the face, he realized the truth. Sophia had been framed. He called his assistant. "Find her, now! I want Sophia Bennett in my office within 24 hours. The reunion Sophia didn't make it easy. When Richard's people finally found her, she was sitting in a quiet cafe dressed simply, no trace of the confident corporate director she once was. When Richard walked in, she looked up wary. "Sophia," he said softly, pulling out a chair. She studied him for a long moment. The anger she had buried threatened to resurface. This was the man who had once called her his right hand, yet he hadn't stopped her execution. "You let them throw me to the wolves," she said coldly. Richard sighed. His shoulders seemed heavier, his face more lined than she remembered. "I was on medical leave. I had no idea what Victor and Amanda were doing until it was too late. But Sophia?" His voice hardened. "Now I know the truth, and I need your help to finish this." Sophia leaned back, arms crossed. "Finish this? You don't understand. I already started it." Victor's counterattack, meanwhile. Victor Lang wasn't sitting idle. Realizing the storm was spiraling out of control, he called Amanda into his office. "This is salvageable," he insisted, pacing. "We deny everything. We spin it as a smear campaign. Sophia Bennett is unstable. Everyone knows she was fired for misconduct." Amanda's face twisted. "But the documents fabricated," Victor snapped. "We push that narrative. And if necessary," he lowered his voice, "we make Sophia disappear." Amanda's eyes widened. "Disappear?" Victor's smile was cold. Metaphorically, of course. But deep down, Amanda wondered just how far he was willing to go. The trapped Sophia knew they would fight back. She anticipated it. That's why she had held on to her strongest card, a hidden recording. Months before her firing, she had accidentally overheard Amanda and Victor in a private meeting. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, but on instinct, she had recorded the conversation. Now, listening back, her blood boiled. Victor's voice was unmistakable. "Once she's out of the picture, we can divert the funds without interference. Sophia's too sharp. She'll catch on," Amanda had laughed. "Then we'll make sure she doesn't." Sophia uploaded the recording to the cloud, encrypted and timed. At the shareholder emergency hearing scheduled for next week, the file would automatically play on the main screen. They had destroyed her reputation. But she was about to destroy their entire legacy. The emergency hearing the following week, the boardroom was packed again. Shareholders, lawyers, reporters, and regulators. Victor tried to maintain his smooth composure, while Amanda looked pale and strained. Richard sat at the head of the table, silent, watching. Sophia, for the first time since her firing, was seated at his side. When Victor began his rehearsed speech about slander and hacking, Sophia simply clicked a button on her tablet. The speakers crackled to life. Victor's voice filled the room. "Once she's out of the picture, we can divert the funds without interference." Amanda's laugh followed. "Then we'll make sure she doesn't." The room went dead silent. Victor's face turned ashen. Amanda's eyes filled with tears, and then chaos. Shareholders shouted. Reporters rushed out to file breaking updates. Regulators began drafting subpoenas. Richard stood, his voice booming. "This company belongs to its people, not to thieves." Effective immediately, Victor Lang and Amanda Cole are suspended pending full investigation. The downfall, the legal system moved swiftly. Victor was indicted on charges of fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. Amanda, facing mountains of evidence, attempted to cut a deal but ended up dragged through public trial. Their names became synonymous with greed and betrayal. Amanda, once poised and admired, was photographed leaving court in tears, her reputation in ruins. Victor, once the shark, was reduced to a disgraced figure fighting for bail. The empire they built on lies crumbled overnight. Sophia's redemption. For Sophia, the vindication was bittersweet. Richard publicly apologized for the board's actions. He reinstated her, not just as director but as chief operating officer, giving her full authority to rebuild Nexus Dynamics from the ashes. At the press conference, Sophia stood tall before flashing cameras. "I didn't do this for revenge," she said, her voice steady. "I did it for truth. For every loyal employee who has ever been silenced. For every voice drowned out by corruption. This company will rise again, but this time with integrity." The audience erupted in applause, but Sophia knew the truth. Deep down, it had been revenge, and it tasted sweeter than anything she had ever known. The final twist months. Later, Sophia was cleaning her office when she found a file Victor had tried to delete. Inside were names, politicians, executives, regulators, all complicit in the fraud. She realized the rabbit hole went deeper than she ever imagined, and as she stared out the glass window at the Chicago skyline, she whispered to herself, "This isn't over." If you liked my story, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with as many people as possible. Thanks for watching!